look for. Haiti was never forgiven for overthrowing slavery. You know what? That's a very good insight that you see there. I feel like the world has, like, first of all, they had to pay $2 billion of reparations to France. Imagine, Haiti, who was colonized viciously by fucking France, had to pay $2 billion in reparations to France. Fuck Francis. Holy shit. Holy fuck, it's unbelievable. So Danzig says, yeah, the leader of Haiti was basically a US puppet covering for neocolonialism in the country, and the people had enough. Yeah, look, you have to understand that, like, based on what I'm seeing, a lot of people hated Jovenel Moïse, but nobody wanted him to go down via foreign intervention. I think, like, even the local gang leaders, one of the main gang leaders, his name is Barbecue. We'll be watching a video of him after. He says how, you know, like, dude, a week before Jovenel Moïse's assassination, Barbecue was uniting all of the gangs inside of Haiti, and what he was doing was, firstly, he called for the murder of Jovenel Moïse, who was the president of Haiti, who was assassinated. Not only that, but a week or 2 weeks leading up to his death, they were carrying out actual massacres. So yeah, and then after everything has happened, you know, Barbecue gave a statement saying, you know, as much as we didn't like Jovenel Moïse, this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to do it. And it's interesting because he actually even mentions the Barbecue when he's talking. He mentions something about the bourgeoisie. It's interesting. Let's check it out, comrades. Let's look at what the German state has to say about...
In Haiti, police say they've killed 4 people and detained 2 others after a gun battle with suspects in the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse. Officials say they belong to a group of professional commandos and foreign mercenaries who killed the president in his home while posing as US special agents. World leaders have condemned the killing, which deepens the...
I can't help but just be like, yo... And it's no surprise to the Haitian people. When I was talking to my co-workers, they're like, yeah, the United States is basically, to them, the way they look at it, they just say, okay, the next person that's in power, the United States is going to choose. That's how they look at it. When I asked my coworker, I said, what's going to happen now? What systems are there in place to deal with this and shit like that? And she straight up told me, she's just like, we're just waiting for till somebody that the United States approves of, and then we're gonna see that person is our president. And then you wonder why their voting turnouts of only like 20% in Haiti. You know what I mean?
The political crisis in the Caribbean nation. The UN Security Council is due to discuss the situation later today.
This van is moving the remains of Haiti's slain President Jovenel Moïse from his private residence where he was killed. Outside the villa, investigators scoured for evidence and leads as to who may have planned and carried out the assassination. Gunmen raided Moïse's home in the early hours of Wednesday. His wife was critically wounded and is being treated at a hospital in Florida. The government has declared an emergency.
That's fucking horrible, you know, but like in true American fashion, you gotta look at, you know, how Fred Hampton was killed, and I'm pretty sure how a lot of other people were killed. You know, they don't give a fuck if your spouse is in the bed with you. They don't give a fuck. These people don't give a fuck.
We have decided to declare a state of siege in the entire country.
Okay, so this is the interim president, okay?
I share the sorrow of the president's wife, who happened to be with him the evening of the attack. We ask for people to stay calm.
Yeah.
We appeal to the intelligence of Haitians in this difficult time.
Bro, most Haitians don't want to leave their houses. What the fuck are you talking about? The only people who are going to be not quiet, obviously, are already the major players. The street gangs and the government. Dude, the Haitian people don't know what to fucking do. I swear to God, at my mom's work, my mom works at a warehouse, and there are a lot of Haitians there. Straight up, dude, they're having to deal with being in Canada, and they have family in Haiti who are being massacred, who are being killed, who are, you know, the people of Haiti are scared shitless, and they have no fucking power. The only people that they could look to for power is A, their government, their state, or B, the street gang levels, who also do wield a lot of power on the streets of Haiti. Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
Num moment difficile ça.
President Moïse's assassination comes amid rising gang violence and a growing humanitarian crisis. Food and fuel
a growing humanitarian crisis. This humanitarian crisis in Haiti has been growing for fucking decades and decades and decades. Just look at the 2004 situation where people had to get the UN to go in there, of which Canada supported the UN invasion of Haiti, and they made the situation so much fucking worse.
Shortages, as well as rising inflation, are making life extremely difficult for the people.
The whole world right now should be sending food, and not right now, they should have been doing it. The whole world should be taking a little piece out of what they get, and they should be sending it to Haiti. Not only sending it to Haiti, but making sure that the food and the resources could be distributed among the people
of Haiti, one of the poorest countries in the world. And the political situation has been far from stable.
So there's no doubt that Jovenel Moïse was positioning himself to be some kind of dictator. There's no doubt about that, but it's like, as soon as he starts doing things that are not 100% in accordance with what the United States wants, then, they send a fucking team of 2 American Haitians, which we'll see later, and 26 Colombians. Now, Colombia, we also need to look at Colombia as important because of their fucking actions at the behest of the United States government against Venezuela. So we could see here that Colombia is the government of Colombia anyway, because the government of Colombia has a there have been huge protests in Colombia. Their protesters have been being killed. So I'm not talking about the Colombian people. I'm talking about the Colombian government being a fucking puppet for the United States in the region. And they flex their muscles against Venezuela, and now we can see that they're flexing their muscles against Haiti too.
Opposition called for Moise to step down, insisting his term had legally expired. International leaders condemned the assassination and expressed support for Haiti's interim government.
We urge Haitian authorities to bring those responsible to justice.
The U.S. State Department, okay, fucking shit. So now they're happy that he's dead and they support the interim government, okay.
The United States calls on all political parties, civil society groups, and stakeholders to echo what we've heard from Acting Prime Minister Claude Joseph's call for calm and to work together in the wake of this tragedy.
Dude, there is nothing calm about Haiti right now. There has been nothing calm about Haiti for the past 100 years. This man is disgusting.
And to ensure peace and democratic governance.
I've seen his face before. I don't like this fucker at all.
For now, the streets in the capital Port-au-Prince remain quiet.
For now.
But there's a lingering fear that the crisis could plunge Haiti into further chaos and uncertainty.
Let's see what Chinese media had to say about this. This is from CGTN, which is a Chinese state news network, I guess. At least 28 people carried out the assassination of Haiti's president, Jovenel Moïse. AFP reported on Thursday, citing Haitian police. 26 were Colombians and 2 were U.S. citizens. At a news conference late on Thursday, Police Chief Leon Charles revealed that 15 of the Colombians and the 2 Haitian Americans had been captured. 3 of the assailants were killed and 8 were still on the run, Charles says. Officials did not address possible motives for the killing. They only said the attack was carried out by a highly trained and heavily armed group. Well, what I'm hearing is that those 2 Haitian Americans, what they did this whole group, I guess, led by the 2 Haitian Americans, what they did to get into Jovenel Moïse's house was that they said that there was some kind of DEA operation. Now, obviously, I don't know what the details were. Yeah, so SSDG says, in which way the interim will lean on now? Which way will the interim government lean on? I mean, it's going to be back to status quo, American interests in the region. What's very interesting for me is how will the gangs react? How will the streets react? And this next video clip I want to show is powerful gang boss wades into Haiti turmoil. So this is the man I was talking to you about. His first name is Jimmy. I forget what his last name is, but his street name is Barbecue. So let's check this out, comrades.
He is one of Haiti's most powerful gang leaders, and his threats risk plunging Haiti into deeper chaos. Jimmy.
His threats risk plunging Haiti into deeper chaos. Yeah, we can say that, but fuck, what about the state's a role in all of this? What about the history of Haiti in all of this? What about the history of Haiti that has created these street gangs to begin with, you know? But yeah, like my coworkers, when they talk about barbecue, like they tell me that they wish he was dead. But the problem is, they were telling me that they wish Jovenel Moïse was dead too at some points, you know what I mean? So it's a very complicated situation in Haiti for the Haitian people, because who the fuck can they turn to? Literally, who the fuck can they turn to?
Cherizier, a former cop known as Barbecue, heads the so-called G9 Federation of 9 gangs. In a new video address, he says his men would take to the streets to protest the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse.
You see, this is crazy because just a week before, Barbecue was calling for the murder of Jovenel Moïse. But I think that what Barbecue is trying to say here is that he would have liked for the Haitian people, the people of Haiti, to decide the fate of Jovenel Moïse, and not some shadowy fucking American interventionist group led by 2 American Haitians and apparently 26 Colombians, you know?
Many people from the opposition and stinking bourgeoisie joined together to betray the president. It is a national and international conspiracy against the Haitian people. I ask all the gangs to mobilize, take to the streets. We demand explanations about the assassination of the president. We had a problem with the president, but we have never said that foreigners can enter our territory to kill the president.
Yeah, you see, this is what he said. This is what I just said before. Yes, we have problems. The gangs had problems with him, but they don't want American interventionism to come and solve the problem.
Mais nous pas dit pour ces étrangers qui entrent sous sol nous pour venir tuer président dans un état critique comme ça.
Moïse was gunned down before dawn on Wednesday at his Port-au-Prince home. Haitian authorities say a unit of trained assassins comprising 26 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans carried out the murder. The murder and the still murky plot behind it has caused further political instability in the long-troubled country. The government is calling for US and UN assistance.
Of course they are! Of course they are!
Says it has no plans to provide Haiti with military assistance for now, while the request to the UN would need Security Council authorization. Cherizier says his followers will practice legitimate violence and that it's time for the masters of the system, business magnates of Syrian and Lebanese descent who dominate parts of the economy, to give back the country. Some of the magnates had been at loggerheads with Moïse.
Okay, so I would like to check out more about this Lebanese presence inside of Haiti, and to what degree are they attached to the bourgeoisie of Haiti. Because, you know, this man, Barbecue, he's a very charismatic man, as you can see here, and he uses the language of socialism, definitely, you know.
Meanwhile, in a taped recording, Moïse's widow Martine, who was also wounded in the attack, accused shadowy enemies of plotting his assassination to thwart democratic change. She says her husband had spoken of dark forces.
I don't know if Jovenel Moïse was actually interested in democratic change, because he was positioning himself as a dictator, but he could have been positioning himself as a dictator in opposition to American interests. And this could be why, you know, this is what happened. But obviously, I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I just look at some news things. I speak to some people at work, and I try to, you know, compile some kind of an understanding of what's going on in the region. It's very, very complex. It's very, very complicated, and it's much bigger than me. That goes without saying.
Behind years of unrest, rivals and oligarchs angry about what he called his attempts to clean up government contracts and politics. Haitian officials have not provided a motive for the assassination or explained how the killers got past Moise's security detail.
So, I mean, basically what we just saw, you know, we can go back, we can talk about what's going on in Cuba with the San Isidro movement, with this AstroTurf, fake grassroots movement that's probably heavily supported by the United States, and obviously the Cuban American population, especially in Florida, is incredibly reactionary. So there's that as well. And now we see in Haiti these little signs of American interventionism, and we can see that the United States is trying to have some kind of a hard power in the region. They have been trying for so long. And it's really interesting to see how they use Colombia. They use the Colombian people in these efforts. First, during the Trump administration against Venezuela, which obviously continued through to the Biden administration, and now the Biden administration using Colombians, at least Colombian nationals, in Haiti to further destabilize the region that's been destabilized from, you know, hundreds of years of colonization. And yeah, that's it. That's really what I wanted to say about those things. I mean, we can't just blame those specific governments of Cuba and the government of Haiti. We need to be looking at the history, the legacy that colonization has led to. Obviously, in Cuba, we have embargoes and sanctions that we could talk about. It's obviously the anti-communist rhetoric that takes precedence over there, whereas in Haiti we have this divide, this power divide between the street gangs and the oligarchs, and that's a little bit more complicated to understand, but we can definitely see how American tentacles are trying to find their way into Cuba and Haiti both.